Okay, JR in California, I got your new radio here. Stryker 955 HPC Plus. Should be just about ready to get set up here. So I just did the PC programming really quick, so I don't really change a whole lot of stuff in there. But one thing to point out on these, and your Quad 6 Pros and your QT80s, as far as I know, those are the ones so far that if you're going to use this radio on sideband in a vehicle, there's a good chance that you will get a high SWR alert. So what I would recommend that anyone does, at least with this radio, you can obviously look at your operating manual on how to set the other settings on the other radios, but for this radio I would recommend going in and turning this off. This is your SWR protection. I think most of us, we're pretty experienced operators. We know if we have a high SWR. Obviously sideband isn't going to be the mode that you're going to want to check it on anyways. Now these newer radios and stuff and your HF models, they do have a detection circuit that works on sideband. Some work better than others. I would say that they're pretty poor on these radios and the others I've mentioned for certain scenarios. Now it doesn't happen to everybody. I've seen certain radios do it for some people and then send that same radio to somebody else and it never does it for them. So I really can't explain why the radios do what they do, but it does happen and it's a real thing, and I just like to put that out there. So in this situation, when you're talking on your radio on sideband, you may see that it shows a higher than normal SWR. It's 100% guarantee. You go to AM or FM, just key your microphone, don't say a word. You will have a perfect SWR if your antenna is adjusted the right way. If it's not, then it's not, and you need to correct that. But the detection circuit in some of these newer radios is not what it should be. I would actually like to see them just totally remove the whole SWR function from sideband. I don't think they'll ever do that, but I at least hope that they'll look into it and try to correct what's going on. I'm sure Stryker's been made aware of it or whatever the case may be, but until there's a change made, that's what I recommend for these. Like I said, the QT80, the Quad 6 Pro. I've seen it happen on all of them. I've never had this happen to one of these for myself in a car because I haven't put one of these in a car yet. But I have had it happen on a Quad 6 Pro and a QT80. I flat out just have no really rhyme or reason why it happened. People have added links of coax to their antenna and it stopped it from happening. Some people have put ferrite cores around the coax cable. It stopped it from happening. Obviously, if you lower your RF power value down, it stops it from happening, but there's ways to mitigate it, but the problem should never happen. So I just like to put that stuff out there because I don't know if it's widely known, but it is something that's going on. So, and I have had it happen. I've talked to like 3 or 4 guys. A couple guys didn't even buy these radios for me that have had it happen as well. So it is something that's going on. It's not a big secret, but the radios still work fine. Just shut off the protection. So I'm going to leave that protection off, and you can turn it on when you get it if you decide you need to. This is for the DC protection that protects the voltage. You don't want to overvolt or undervolt the radio. But as far as the TSR, that's your SWR protection, and I'm going to leave that off. So that way, if that were to happen, because what happens if it's on, it cuts the transmit out on sideband. It never happens on a base station anytime. I've never seen it happen on a home installation, on an outdoor antenna. It's always been on a vehicle, either with a mag base antenna, or in my situation, I have a permanent roof mount through the roof of my vehicle. I screw the mag base in. I run a Wilson 1000. It's basically the same as all the other large coiled base load antennas. Any other radio I've ever ran besides the QT60, or I'm sorry, not the QT60, the Quad 6 Pro or the QT80 have never had a problem with that. So it's something I attribute it to that vertical board that's in these radios that gives it a higher power. That's what I think is causing it. I still stand by that because only the radios that have that do that. I've never heard of it happening to a President Washington. I don't know too many guys that were running those mobile. I'm sure there are. If you've had that happen on a Washington, comment about it. But aside from that, they're all still fun radios to use. So there's 5 minutes of our life we'll never get back. Let's get this set up to get going here for you, JR. And be ready to get this going here in a second. But yeah, it's just the real world that we're in, you know. Things are what they are, and there's no sense hiding the fact that it's happening to people. So we'll get this one set up the right way for you, and then I'll be back. Okay, FM power is about 50. Here's the transmit frequency. It's right on the money, so we're good to go. I'm going to send it out with about a 20 watt AM carrier, so that'll be on the high power side, and just under a watt on the low power side. You can hear my friends overseas, they're really ramping up out there. The DX is coming in hot and heavy today, so we'll hear that on this radio once I get it on the antenna. So there's our factory modulation. It's pretty low. Now again, when you lower the carrier down from like 2.3 or whatever they come out of the box, it does lower the modulation with it. So, you know, we're going to turn it up now. It's over 100% right there. It's about, what, 140 or something. And then obviously that's way too much. That'd be like 300% plus, but you can see all the distortion and everything. It's really bad. So definitely don't want to go that aggressive. And then if you try to go to 200%, you basically just, the negative trough is pinched off, and you don't want that. So you can't go much higher than about that 100, and let's see what that would be right there. About 150% right there, but I don't even think I can go that aggressive. Now, no, again, nobody's going to run it this low. And it's just a little bit pinched off, so that's a little bit better there. So yeah, that's good. So kind of lose my whole reference point, but it looks good now, and it's very clean there. Obviously a very low power. PEP is about 4 or something, 4.5. So I think we started just below 1 watt, and our average is about half the peak. So we started about right around a watt, so we're good to go on that one. Let's do the high power now, and that's going to be about 20.5 watts. Obviously now we're going to fill the spectrum analyzer screen a little bit more, because that's where the reference is set at. It's more of a full power situation. Let me see if I can't. That's close enough there. So we have already over 100% right now. Not by much, maybe 115, somewhere in there. And if we take it too far up, we can see how we're starting to flatten off and pinch our negative. So again, the radio doesn't have really the ability to go much more than about 115, 120 on the high power side, which is, it's plenty, but you know, there's other ways to make things do more. But that looks really good there. I'm not gonna, well, I can just do this actually. Oh, wrong way. Nope, that's at the extent of that. So you can see it's still nice and rounded. If we kind of zoom in a little bit on it, you can see it looks really nice. So we're good there. And these are pretty easy to set up. Just kind of quick, and just get a little bit more out of it, kind of align it a little bit, as I like to say. We're not tuning anything or anything like that. We're just kind of doing just a little bit of an improvement. Sorry about the radio in the background. I'll try to edit some of the noise cancellation into the video to maybe cut some of that out, but I don't know. If you're a radio man, it shouldn't bother you to hear radio. If it does bother you, then I don't know. I could listen to this stuff all day, but I guess some guys maybe don't like to hear radio. Anything I'm saying on this video I've probably shown and said a million times already anyway, so it's not really that important. So that's how our sideband looks. Obviously it's lacking, so we don't like to see it like that. I don't like to see it like that. Some great conditions the last couple of days over to Europe and Germany and UK and Germany and Netherlands and even France a couple of times yesterday. There we go. So those are lined up a little bit better. You can see how that doesn't look very appealing to me anyways. This is a very low number. It's only 12, so try to make it about 20. These are good at about 20. I mean, you can go more aggressive, but that's going to limit some of the power of this radio. These are pretty good right around 20 to 21, and then that's how it looks there. So it looks fantastic now, and looks really nice there too. So it's all set. Let's put it on the regular option mode, radio operating mode I mean, and we'll come back and show how it's working with the mic. Then I'll bring the antenna over here and hook it up. Okay, here's our power. This is way down on the radio. Now again, this is always on a dummy load, so about 2.5 or something on the average. So now when I speak into the radio, you can see the high level of modulation. It's very aggressive. So if you're gonna ever consider like an amplifier with this kind of radio, you cannot run something that has a power limitation like of 25, 35 watts in. I would say that you're better off just running this radio standalone and just leave it at that, because you cannot control your peak envelope power forward momentum on this radio. It's very, very aggressive. Now, other power meters may not show you as much on that, and that's just due to the fact they don't have the ability to show a more accurate reading, but you're probably going to really stress that said amplifier. And I'm talking like some of those bigger ones like RM703s and stuff. I mean, maybe you could do it, I don't know, but I wouldn't risk it. You know, I personally wouldn't risk it. If it were me, I would get something a little more rugged. And I'm not a big amplifier type of guy anyways, but with our 20 some odd watts of carrier, that's our peak envelope power there. It's about 100 or so, so it's about 5 times the carrier. That's how it looks on the spectrum analyzer. It looks pretty conservative. I mean, a little more aggressive going into the next channels, but that's the 0 dBm line that we're still right under, so we're looking good. And again, on these, it's going to show a lot of power on AM. You go to single sideband. On single sideband with the power all the way up, it's not going to show you as much. And there's the spectrum analyzer view of that right there. 1, 2, 3. The power on a single sideband is still anywhere from 80 to 100 depending, so it's still doing the proper power that it should do. You always got to realize that, you know, on sideband we need to have a little bit less. We can't always push it as much as we'd like to maybe, but you know, we don't want to distort the frequency and take up too much bandwidth. So we want to stay conservative and clean. So that's pretty much it. You can fully control your power output on this radio on sideband. So on sideband you can do much less, you know, if you want to. I'll turn it down a little bit more. So here we go, just a little bit less. Now you could run something like what I was saying earlier on sideband only, but on AM you're kind of risking things. And maybe there's guys that have more experience doing that stuff, and they could say, oh yeah, well you could swing more into it. I don't know. And personally, I don't really care because it's not my thing, but I just like to, you know, use caution when you do that kind of stuff as a radio operator, because some of this stuff can blow up pretty easy. And if you're not sure, then I wouldn't do it. And if you don't have a good meter to register the power, I wouldn't trust something that, although they're very popular, there's a lot of inaccuracy in some certain types of meters that I see tons and tons of people still use, and they can have expensive ham radios sitting on their setup and still use some poor quality meters. So anyhow, put this on the antenna and we will see what's going on.
14 Delta Whiskey 615, operator 912.
If you want a little bit more treble on your audio, also your mic will determine that, but you can run this to 4. If you want a more bassy sound, run it to 2. Anywhere in between, 2.5, 3, kind of middle of the road. So I'm going to run it up at 4. There's also one for the receiver that we skipped. You can hear that difference. I'll turn this high cut off too. Whoops, we lost our setting, but obviously the high cut will have a factor, but I just switched that off. I actually kind of prefer it myself like that, but I'm going to leave it at 3. I'll leave that one at 4. So it's doing pretty good on the receive. There's quite a bit of Europe coming in. So, alright JR, I'm going to get out of here and get this one ready to send off to you as well. 73, appreciate it.